Hello everyone and welcome to another Nighthawk Racing track guide. This time we are in the Group 3 Mclaren around Barcelona, no chicane. It's a very technical track. Obviously there's a long straight until turn 1. And for this corner, if you see this black board to the left hand side of me and the 100 meter board, I usually brake in between those two but closer to the black board. Stay wide on the curve, and then as soon as you get past this patch of tarmac here, slightly after you see the rubber marks there on the ground as well, that's when you should start maybe turning. You're gonna be in around second to third gear. Yeah, you're gonna take this curve here on the right, and then you're going to approach this curve on the left. And by the time you get here, you want to make sure you go on top of this, well, or just slightly to the side of the sausage curve there. And you're going to be not fully on the throttle because it can really unsettle the car. So what you want to do is maybe lift and go around like 80% on the throttle, upshift, and then once you've done that, you're free to go. Then we get to turn 3, probably one of the most challenging corners out on this track, and one that is really crucial for you to be able to make your strategy work later on. So you should probably lift a little bit after you see this patch of gravel here to my right hand side ending. So you want to let the car coast for a little bit, and as soon as you see the beginning of that metal frame to the left hand side of me, the big one, which is, I think it's for one of the grandstands, that's when you want to start accelerating again. And yeah, just be aware that the car is going to start, understeering wide. That's where you want to go here onto the left and place. I like to place the left-hand side wheels on top of the green part of the curve, just because it helps me have a wider entry onto turn 4. And you want to brake slightly before you get to this bridge where the polyphony logo is. You're going to turn at the end of the curve, and by this point you're going to be in around second to third gear depending on the cars. Maybe second gear if you need to get a little bit more rotation. You want to stay as close to this red and white curve on the right without touching it, and as soon as you see the beginning of the orange barrier, that's when you go full throttle again. And yeah, just be aware that you're gonna understeer wide here, and that's what you want to do. You want to stay close. You don't need to touch the curve. I personally like to stay as close to it, but without going on top of the curve. And then you get onto turn 5. So you have two kind of like reference points visually for the braking marker. You have the fence there on the left hand side above the barrier, and you can brake as soon as you see that it's reaching the end, or you can just use the rubber mark on this curve. That's the one that I usually go for as your braking point. And before the end of the curve, you want to start turning into the corner. You're going to be in some cars maybe first, second gear on the apex. And what you want to do is you want to get the car as straightened up as possible. And before you go full throttle, you just upshift and then just aim for the curve on the outside. And you can place your car, the right-hand side wheels on top of the green bits, as long as you have the left-hand side wheels on top of the tarmac or the red and white curve. Then we're going to reach, I'm going to treat this complex of corners just as one section as I go through. So turn 6 here, you want to start braking just at the start of this curve on the right-hand side. Then you're going to aim for the apex. You're going to be in around second to third gear. You can touch this curve here, and this is a tricky one because you want to carry as much speed as possible. You want to go on the throttle as soon as possible. So you're going to use the curve on the left-hand side, the prior one, to help you rotate the car a bit. And then you want to place kind of the car like this, so the right-hand side wheels on top of this green part. But just beware that it's extremely easy for you to spin the car or collect a penalty in the process. So do that at your own risk. And then you're gonna get to turn 8 now. You should brake slightly after the curve finishes, and you want to be, I don't know, maybe somewhere between 20 to 30% at most, just to help the weight of the car shift towards the front. You don't need to brake too hard. And then as soon as you see this sausage curve, the red and white sausage curve on the outside, that's your reference point for when you want to go full throttle. So you're going to be possibly third, fourth gear around here. And yeah, just be aware that if you go on the throttle too soon, you might just understeer the right amount so that your car is basically in a position where you can collect a penalty. So yeah, just be aware of that. Now turn 9. So as you can see on the right hand side, there's this pole right here where there should be a blackboard, but for some reason it isn't there. So you want to brake in between that pole and the 100-meter board for this corner. You want to turn in as soon as you get to the 50-meter board, and in most cars, you're going to be in first gear, but you want to go with a very late downshift to first to help rotate the car. And as soon as you hit the apex, in some cars like this Mclaren, you can stay in first gear because it has a long first gear. But on others, you might need to go on second gear just to get that stability as you go on the exit and keep the car under control. Then turns 10 and 11. So turn 10 is basically you're going to be a full throttle here. And crucial point here is that you go with the left-hand side wheels on top of the green sort of cobblestone there to the left-hand side of the red and white curve. You're going to enter like this, and then I don't have necessarily a good visual reference to brake for this corner. I guess you can use this bit of the green Astro on the left-hand side that is close to the rallycross track. But you don't want to go like fully on the brakes. You can go just 50% or a little bit more at the beginning, just to help again, just to transfer the weight towards the front of the car. And you're gonna be in second gear basically, and then as soon as you see this red and white sausage curve, that's your point for when you want to start going full throttle and upshift to third in the majority of cases. You want to place your car so the left-hand side wheels on top of the green part of the curve, just to help you widen your entry. And then, as you can see, there is a rubber mark in front of the car at this point. That's the sort of reference I use to start turning in. And you can take a big chunk of the curve here on the right-hand side. Beware not just to cut it too much, otherwise you can get a penalty quite easily. And the same here on the exit, you want to have the car as wide as possible here, stick as much of the track as you can. So basically like this, as long as you have the right hand side wheels on top of the red and white curve, you are fine. And you want to place the car basically so that this yellow sausage curve is in between, is in the middle of the car essentially. And then as a braking reference for the final corner, you can use either the pit lane board that's on the right hand side, or you can also start braking just before you hit the end of the curve. And you're going to be around 50% on the brakes, if not a little bit more, and around third gear or fourth gear for most cars. And you're going to be coasting basically until this point. And as soon as you see, or as soon as you get close to the pit wall there, at the start of this pit wall here, that's when you want to start going full throttle. You're going to be aiming for this curve on the outside. As always, beware not to run too wide, as it's really easy to do so because of the understeer you pick up and then get a penalty. But yeah, this was a track guide around Barcelona no chicane. Hopefully this is helpful. And if you want to see more racing content on or any more track guides from the Nighthawk Racing family, please check out the YouTube channel and subscribe. We're also on TikTok, so make sure to check that one as well as Instagram. And I shall see you all soon.